Hey guys, about a month ago, I put out a video for this Gowutar A20 micro red dot and really didn't have hardly any complaints at all about it. I really like the sight a lot. Did kind of wish that maybe it had like a small little notch in the rear to be able to line that up with your front sight. And in talking with Gowutar, they told me that they had this model here called the A17 and asked if I would be willing to take a look at it. I figured we'd do a quick unboxing, see what all comes in it, and then kind of go over all the different specs and features. We'll try to make the unboxing real quick here. All right, so we got an owner's manual. We got a cleaning cloth for the lens. Looks like a whole bunch of different screws. In here we have a battery, couple tools, and then it looks like the sight itself. So my first thoughts pulling it right out of the package is this thing is tiny. I mean, it is like not much longer than just like one section of your finger width there. Like, it is so tiny. So the A20 had an RMR footprint. The A17 has an RMS or RMSc. And I don't know all the pistols that have that. I think maybe the Springfield Hellcat does, maybe the Shield Plus, maybe the SIG, the P365, and maybe the P322. They might have it, but you can probably find a list somewhere that has all of them, that has the RMS or RMSc footprint. And as it is right now, it has this Picatinny adapter on it. So anything that has a Picatinny rail, pistol, rifle, shotgun, you would be able to mount this to that. So one of the first things I noticed too is that they have their logo stamped into that cover, and these are nicely molded. Like, this is actually a really nice cover on here. And you can tell it's a thicker type of rubber. It doesn't collapse. Like, I'm squeezing on that pretty hard and it doesn't collapse right in. So that's actually pretty nice. Kind of looking over it to see if there's any type of, quality control issues or imperfections that I can see right off the bat. So they make this with a red dot and with a green dot. There's two different versions. I honestly don't know which version they've sent me and won't know until I put the battery in it. Get you guys some real quick dimensions. The length of it is 1.44 inches. The overall width, let's see, let's just do just up here, because that's the actual sight, is like 0.94. And the height is right about an inch. Weight with that extra little plate on there, probably 2 ounces or less. 1.6 ounces with the plate. So when I take that off, it's going to be even way lighter than that, or probably an ounce or less. I mean, this thing is ridiculously small, but in a good way. So going around it, we have our basically power on, and then to increase the intensity of the brightness, looks like we have our elevation adjustment right there. These are the two screws that holds the plate on, and those will also be where you will mount it to your pistol if that's what you choose to do. We got elevation adjustment right there, and then we got the power for the brightness down on that side. The battery must be underneath of it because I don't see a battery door here. And speaking of the battery, it is a CR 2032. So the A17 does have motion activated illumination technology, which is a fancy way of saying shake awake. So you could have this like on your pistol laying in your safe, and then as soon as you grab your pistol and pull it out, it's automatically on for you. And then if you put it back in your safe after 4 minutes, the dot powers itself back off, and it's just a way of conserving your battery. Same thing if you were to have this on your holster or anything like that. As soon as you pull it out, your dot is always going to be on for you. You don't have to fumble by pushing other buttons or anything like that. So if I were going to have this on a carry gun. Shake awake is the only way I would go. I would not want to have it on a carry pistol and have to turn anything on, so that's nice that way. The dot is a 2 MOA dot, and we'll look at that once we get the battery in, obviously. And then this does have backup iron sights. You can kind of see the channels right here. And then once we get it to mount it to something, we'll kind of see what that will look like. The entire sight is made out of some type of 70-75 aluminum. The lens has a coating on it which makes it anti-scratch, anti-fog, water resistant, and then obviously the whole thing is shock proof. There are supposed to be 10 brightness settings. We got 8 that should be visible, and then 2 that are going to be for night vision. And when I say night vision, you have to have the proper equipment to be able to see that. All right, let's get these screws out. We'll get another weight and then put that battery in it. I didn't mention it earlier when I was doing the dimensions, but that lens or that viewing window is 0.79 inches from the inside of the frame to the other inside. And now we'll grab a weight with that plate off. It's got to be under an ounce. Yep, 0.8 ounces. So typically when the batteries mount underneath, there's not any type of battery cover or door or plate or anything that holds that in, because it's going to be sitting on your gun, so that would keep it there, or it'll have this Picatinny plate that would keep it in. So these are some of the screws that come with this A17, and your pistol may use these, or it may use the ones that I pulled off between that and the Picatinny adapter plate. And this is what my pistol will actually use, are these ones here. I wanted to show you guys before I mount it to something. That lens is fairly clear. There might be just the slightest tint of like a bluish, maybe a grayish, but it's not much at all. It's pretty well clear. So let's power it on here and see what color dot we got. It's the red one. So came on fairly bright. I'm not sure if it'll get any brighter than that or not. It might be easier for me to do this while it's on the gun. My fingers are probably going to get in the way here. There's probably, I can't see it any longer. So we'll say that that's down on the night vision settings. You can see that does get very bright. And that 2 MOA dot is very crisp. I can see through the phone right now. It looks like there's a little bit of like almost like a halo. In real life, you do not see it at all. All you see is a tiny, tiny red dot. So I'll show you guys what this looks like mounted onto a rifle, and then also onto a pistol. We'll get to the range, put some rounds to it, make sure it stays up to the recoil, everything like that, and then we'll be back with some final thoughts. So here it is mounted onto a rifle. Before I put it down on the table, I kind of took a peek through it, and that lens on there is crystal clear, and the dot is really nice and crisp. All right, got it mounted up to the Taurus here. I had to use a different plate for it, but as you can see, I'm working with the empty gun, empty magazine. So we'll see what this looks like through it. See a nice crisp dot down there. You can see that white dot on the front sight right there. And then you can see how that notch right there just lines up with that dot. So here's the dot on one of the lower settings, and then we'll kind of ramp back up through. Might be a little bit easier with it being mounted. Won't be quite so shaky. And yeah, that does get very bright. All right, guys, out here at the range with the Gowutar A17. I'm gonna get it zeroed in, make sure that it holds 0, make sure that there aren't any issues with the lens or, you know, the dot shutting off or anything crazy like that. And there's you guys a sight picture of the Gowutar. So that's one magazine through right now. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place with it. I'm going to make a few more adjustments, bring it up a little bit more, and then maybe back to the right just a little bit. So overall, not too bad here so far. These were like my first ones, and I made some adjustments, and then I was over here, and then I did pull one shot down here, but the majority of them, I can, you know, cover every single thing up with my hand there. So overall, not bad. I'm gonna put some more rounds through it, and I think I have it pretty well zeroed in now. But I'm gonna run another few magazines and make sure that holds. All right, guys, back from the range, and I realized that earlier in the video I never showed the manual, just in case some of you guys do want to see some of that stuff. Most of it I did talk about, but just in case there's something I didn't go over, here's a quick rundown on it. You can pause and read any of that stuff that you want. So I kind of thought, because the footprint of this thing is so small and that viewing window is really small, that I might have a hard time, you know, when it's up here, it's not bad. You can see through it pretty well. But my thought was, maybe when you extend your arms out, you know, to like a shooting position, that window might be too small, and that was not the case at all. I could easily find that dot as soon as I extended my arms. You know, it was easy enough to zero. It held 0 through the box of ammo that I put through it. I didn't do any torture tests, you know, hitting it, and I know my groups weren't like the very tightest, but again, I'm just free-handed. I'm not in a vise or bench rest or anything like that. And my hands were literally frozen. It was like 20 degrees, and I had been out there for like 2 hours already with different guns and loading different magazines and working with parts and screws. And so overall, it did really well. You know, I didn't see any quality control issues at all, and it performed really well. So I'm pleased with it. You know, the shake awake technology has worked. I've had this for probably maybe 3 weeks now. And every single time that I've lifted it up, it always just works. If you don't want that, if you want to actually power it off manually, you can hold down on that power button right there, and like 3 or 4 seconds, it'll power down, but I just leave it on all the time. I did want to show you guys, my P365 is not optics ready. It's not cut, but look how nice that, look how tiny that footprint is on top of that. So if you do have a P365 or XL, this would go really well on top of that. So at the time of recording this, these are coming in about $110 or so on Amazon. And I will leave a link to them down in the video description if you want to find out more information or pick one up or anything. So all right, guys, that's going to be it on this one. If you got any questions, you know, regarding the A17, just put them down in the comment section, and I'll try to get to them when I can. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.